Mutter's in the studio. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, I am doing great. We are glad to have you on the radio this morning.
Saturday night, November the 9th, we are having our annual Veterans Day dinner at the National Guard Armory here in Glasgow. The doors will open at 6 p.m. and we will begin ceremonies about 6:45, 7 p.m., just depending on how the crowd is coming in. It's free to all veterans. Gail and Dales will be providing the meal, which is always a great meal. They've worked with us for several years now. Great place to help us out with that. And it's, like I said, it's free to all veterans. To anybody else, it's $10 each to get in the door.
Well, that's an exciting time. I know all the veterans look forward to that, and they appreciate it.
That's right. We usually have a good turnout, somewhere between 200 and 300 people. A lot of it depends on the weather and things like that, but we will have a guest speaker. The Glasgow Community Band will perform, as always. They're always a treat to have on hand, and it'll be a good night just to come out and celebrate our veterans.
Well, that sounds great. You mentioned the schools. It always was one of my favorite days of the year as a teacher. Before I retired, I always loved Veterans Day and seeing all the folks that came out for that.
Right.
Of course. Most schools have a program now, and that's good to keep the younger generation to know and appreciate our veterans.
Right. Most schools do. The only bad thing about that is they all have them about the same time, so I can't make it to all of them.
Exactly.
They do. Our local schools are very helpful in supporting our veterans and recognizing them.
And we always recognize the Patriot Award winner at a lot of those programs.
That's right.
And that's something that happens at Memorial Day when that's first recognized, isn't it?
Right. That's at Memorial Day. We do that at our annual Memorial Day ceremony at the city cemetery.
Okay.
Also, I'd like to mention Monday, actually on Veterans Day, on the 11th, we'll have our Veterans Day Parade. Any veterans that want to take part, we will start forming up at the Save-A-Lot parking lot on South Green Street. Somewhere between 11:15, and then we will begin the parade at 12 noon. We will proceed around the square, and it will end at the Veterans Wall, and we'll have a short ceremony there along with a guest speaker.
Matt, tell me a little bit about your time in serving our country. When was that exactly?
Well, I graduated from Barron County High School in '88, and right after Christmas that year, I went into the Navy, went to boot camp in Chicago, which I can tell you January and December is not the best time to go to Chicago boot camp. Lots of snow there.
Oh, I can imagine.
But then I was there for about 1 year. Then I was stationed on a ship in Long Beach, California. I was a gunner's mate, and shortly after that, we went overseas to help in the Desert Storm.
Okay.
When that first started in the early 90s. And we took part in that operation, and I actually took a couple of trips across the Pacific Ocean. And then my enlistment was up in '92, and I came back to Glasgow.
Okay, well, you were probably in that convoy. I remember that when the local unit left and went to Fort Campbell, I guess, and convoy from Glasgow through Bowling Green. And
well, no, they were on land. I was on the water.
You
most
were
of
on
the
the
time.
water, right?
Right.
But that time just sticks out in my mind,
Right.
And I know it does yours.
Oh, it does, and if you go back and look at some records, we had a lot of people in that time period that joined the Navy, which is unusual for this area of the country to have a lot of people join the Navy. And we had, I'm going to say maybe 8 or 9 people from my graduating class that joined the Navy that year.
Well, that's great.
So.
That's great. I always like it when the anthems are played for veterans and they get to stand up and be honored.
Right.
And always see quite a few Navy guys when that happens.
Right.
And that's a good thing. You've also had, you briefly mentioned this, and I want to just get your thoughts on it. You have traveled with the Honor Flight Program with other veterans to Washington. Tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Well, it's hard to put into words. I have several pictures if you want to take a look sometime.
Oh,
wow. That I've actually been twice, and those are 2 of the best days that I've ever spent. First time I went, I actually went with 2 local people, Bill Bracey and Harry Ward went with me, 2 local guys. I think Mr. Bracey is a World War II veteran, and Harry is a Korean War veteran. And we start early in the morning. We flew out from Louisville Airport about 5 in the morning and did not get back until about 11 that night. And it was just a activity, fun-filled, packed day.
Oh, yeah.
When we arrived, we had a police escort from each one of the monuments. We went to the Vietnam Veterans Wall, the Korean Memorial, the World War II Memorial, and it was just they treated us like superstars that day.
Oh yeah, and it's always so moving to see a veteran at those places.
Yes.
I've had the privilege of going to Washington, took school groups occasionally. I had a grandfather that traveled with his grandson on one of those trips we took to D.C., and he had never been to D.C. before, and he was excited to get to the Vietnam Wall and see the name of his best friend who was his best man at his wedding.
Oh,
and unfortunately, he didn't come home from Vietnam.
Right.
And the moment that we got that to that place and someone etched the name for him, it was just so moving. We all had tears.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just a moving thing there.
It is a very moving experience. And, you know, if it wasn't for the honor flight, a lot of those veterans wouldn't get to see those monuments and that, you know, would never even get to go to Washington, D.C. But like I said, I know Farmers Rural Electric sponsors those flights from time to time, and we're thankful for that. And the ones I went on was sponsored by the Kentucky Colonels Association, so they're very active in that also. But it's just, if you ever get a chance to go on that, or if you have a veteran that you think would enjoy going on that, get in touch with me. We can see what we can do to hook you up on that.
That sounds like great information to know. Well, we want to be sure and publicize Veterans Day again. The parade coming up on Monday. And the time of the parade?
It will start at 12 noon.
12 noon.
But if you're going to be in the parade, be at Save-A-Lot parking lot between 11 and 11:15.
Okay, and it will probably take the same route into the town square as it normally
Right,
does.
we'll just come up South Green Street, go up Main Street around the square, and stop at the Veterans Wall.
Okay, and that will be a good place, and we hope a lot of other people turn out and help honor our veterans on Monday.